working out exactly what to do in Radirgy Swag, experimenting with the various power-ups, and finally putting together a run to the end of the game has been one of the most engaging gaming experiences I've had in ages. How much of that was down to my mediocre Japanese comprehension, I can't say. But what I can say is that Radirgy Swag is a highly original shmup and one it's absolutely worth the risk of a little befuddlement to experience. There have been Radirgy games in the past, but this is the first one on Switch. The story follows on from a previous game, but while it does look intriguing and I'd definitely be interested in checking out an English translation if we ever get one, not knowing what's going on story-wise didn't hamper my enjoyment of the actual game whatsoever. After some initial dialogue, you begin in the main character's room, where you have several options, but for starters, let's just dive straight into the game itself. There are 2 ships on offer with different shot types. Each has 2 shots, which can be switched between at will. They each also have a close range sword attack and the ability to use Absorb Net, a period of temporary invincibility which ends with an enemy damaging eruption that looks like but is far less powerful than a bomb. As you progress in the game, you can also unlock different game modes here, such as the hardcore no absorb net mode. After choosing your ship, you are thrown right in, with the first wave of enemies coming straight at you. When you initially start playing, it's easy to fall into the trap of believing this game to be a very easy ride. Enemies are easy to take down and bullets easy to either dodge or destroy, and your absorb net meter fills relatively quickly, giving you frequent bouts of invincibility. However, play this like a normal shmup and you will quickly find, probably around stage 3, that things start getting pretty hectic and survival using regular tactics is a near impossibility. Even though I just mentioned the stage 3 by the way, stages do not feature bosses or even clear beginnings and ends. Instead you morph between them smoothly with no indicator beyond an alteration in the type of background. Indeed, even to refer to them as stages is something of a misnomer, and the game plays more like one continuous run from a leafy city through the clouds and out into space. You'll no doubt begin by taking things more slowly as you get used to the controls. Attack patterns mix lines of popcorn enemies with larger craft that require multiple hits to take down, and the waves they come in are not set in stone, as you'll see when you come to the boost power-up, and can seem sporadic at first, but depending how you play, will later come in almost screen-fillingly dense walls. Now in this initial phase you will no doubt be having fun just shooting enemies and seeing how far you can go, but very quickly you're going to realise that the power-ups in this game are of massive importance. They appear with very high frequency after killing certain enemies, and can be changed by swiping them with your sword, and there are a total of 8 main types. They start as light blue triangles, these are points bonuses, and darker blue versions are the same but of a higher value. A couple of the others have clear uses. Purple diamonds insta-fill your absorb net gauge, red squares give you power, orange squares a shield, and green squares, which are the rarest, increase your health. In Radirgy Swag, your health is represented by battery life. Obviously taking hits drops this significantly, but in an interesting little twist, just like any battery, it also declines at a slow rate over time. So you're going to need those green pickups even if you're not taking hits. There are also 2 more pickups, a yellow triangle and an orange triangle, whose uses I am not 100% clear on. Your character has some kind of job picking up junk, and the orange triangles, sometimes becoming yellow stars, are this junk. I think they may help you complete the tasks on the left of the screen, but I'm not totally sure on that. Either way, they don't have an impact on your run. The yellow triangle is a signal boost, maybe attracting enemies, again I'm not sure on this one. But again, it seems to have a negligible impact on anything happening in-game. The last pickup, however, is a red triangle, and this is the most important of all, lying in many ways at the root of Radirgy Swag's whole system. This one is a boost, and will add 1 green line to the Wi-Fi signal next to your health. It's only temporary, but pick up another before the first runs out, and you'll add another line, and so on up to 4. Now, I said it's a boost, but what does it boost exactly? Well, everything pretty much. Your ship speeds up, your points multiplier increases potentially absolutely hugely to times 64, and the number of enemy ships can, if you get the Wi-Fi meter high enough, go through the roof in spectacular fashion, and sending your character avatar on the right of the screen into increasing paroxysms of panic. However, while this may make the game appear insanely difficult, remember your absorb net meter? With this volume of enemies, dispatching them efficiently enough and keeping the Wi-Fi meter at full power can potentially keep you in a near constant state of invulnerability. In fact, in later stages, allowing the game to slow down can be just about the most dangerous thing you can do. Playing in this aggressive style, the challenge becomes less about defeating enemies and dodging bullets, and more about swiping those power-ups and making sure to collect the right combination to keep you zooming at top speed towards your final destination of the moon. I won't go into much more detail here, as a lot of the fun of the game is in working out how to manage the systems to maximum effect. But I will say, even once you've done that, there's still a lot of replayability here in terms of going for scores, which are both local and online, with score, distance travelled and time taken all being recorded on separate boards. There's only one board for score for the game, by the way, and that's because there are no alternative difficulty modes or continues. This is a 1cc or nothing, although the nature of the game ought to make that usually lofty goal achievable to most people. The uniqueness of the game extends to the presentation, with the visuals giving off a kind of jet set radio vibe with cartoony backgrounds and ships, and the music and in-game sounds working together to produce a laid-back groovy atmosphere that still manages to maintain a suitably shmuppy punch. The game can get incredibly hectic, almost to the point of blurring into the realm of the abstract, but clear use of colour always keeps what you're doing obvious, and the style, however cool it is, never takes a front seat to the expense of gameplay. There are occasional moments of slowdown, but they're not frequent enough to be a huge problem. As mentioned, the game does have a rather involved story, and chat windows pop up now and then at the bottom of the screen. Again though, these never obstruct or interfere with what you're doing in-game. On the left of the screen, you've probably noticed a lot of Japanese text, and these are little missions or achievements for you to complete. Doing so, I think, may be what prompts the chat windows to appear. I'm not sure on that one. But anyway, do not worry if, like me, you can't really read them. They don't affect how you play, and you'll find yourself quickly forgetting that they're even there. In the main characters room, you can actually find a list of both these achievements and what you have to do to unlock their next stages, as well as a virtual novelette-length chat exchange that fills in as you go. Now, whether this is a heartbreaking work of staggering genius or a silly cliche-riddled amateur effort, I can't tell you, but it's there, and if the rest of the game's anything to go by, I for one would be very intrigued to read through it in English, and hopefully one day that will happen. You can also access scores and settings with control configuration from this room, and there's an area with an unlockable gallery and also an online game manual. All in all, there's not much more a shmup could reasonably add, and this all adds together to give the game world a very complete feeling, however limited your understanding of that world may be. As I said at the start of this review, Radirgy Swag is currently only available from the Japanese eShop. Previous games in the series have seen Western releases though, and hopefully this will too. But if you're eager to play this now, the language barrier isn't too formidable. It might be a complicated shmup, but it is still a shmup. Also, if there ever is an English version, I'd hope the Japanese version will get patched in to include the translation too. If you've watched my reviews before, you'll know I usually give a score at the end, although honestly I'm not personally the biggest fan of doing so. But in this case, I am not going to. Two reasons. One, however much I have managed to get from this game, there's no doubt that my experience has been affected by the language barrier. And two, while I have absolutely loved this game, it's certainly not a traditional shmup, and I think enjoyment is going to come down hugely to personal preference here. However oppositely I may feel, I could fully understand a fan of classic shmups not liking this one bit. What I will say though is this: if you like original experiences, if you're willing to try something new, and if you don't need your shmups to be of the classic dodge, shoot, dodge variety, there is a real gem of a game waiting for you in the form of Radirgy Swag. It's well worth the effort of navigating the Japanese eShop to get hold of, and with this being my first experience of the series, I can see very clearly how and why it has picked up the cult following it has. This might not be to everyone's tastes. I wasn't at all sure it would be to mine when I saw the first trailers, but it won me over in a very big way, and has been one of my most enjoyable shmup experiences on Switch so far. Can't imagine too many people will have this yet, so if you do, please do let us know what you thought. I can see it being divisive, so I'd love to hear others' opinions on this one. And if you need any assistance, check out some of the comments on Twitter, where there's some very useful information to be found. Well, that is all for me on this one. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.